What is up, guys? Today we're going to be diving into the world of double tracking and how we can make it a little bit more creative. Let's check it out. What's good? It's Chris here. So like I said, we're going to be checking out double tracking. Now, for some context, I've been working on this track. It's kind of like an indie pop vibe. And so I figured it would be interesting to talk about double tracking and how we can utilize it to get some interesting techniques and sounds into our mixes and our productions. So starting off, I'm just going to play the single guitar version I have currently, and then we're going to build it up from there. Let's check it out. So there you heard it. That's our single guitar version of this song. It's a nice way to start the song, you could say, but I want to see how we can utilize different forms of double tracking just to see how we can build this up. Now, in my eyes, I like to look at double tracking as a form to create contrast. So say in this case, we've got this guitar sound. If I was to just record another take of the exact same sound, it's gonna create a double track. You're going to get a sense of a left and right sound, but the tones are going to be quite similar, so that's going to lead to not much separation between the left and right. Let's just hear what that sounds like. So as you can hear, we're getting a sense of this stereo double-tracked sound where you can hear the guitar on the left and the right. But because the guitar tone is actually the same, we're not getting a huge amount of separation. So what can we do to help with this? Well, the first easiest thing we can do is just change the pickup. So in this case, I've gone from the neck pickup to the bridge pickup, and that just helps create a lot more separation. Let's hear what that sounds like. So now you're suddenly getting that sense of separation and contrast from the guitars. You can clearly hear there's two guitars and it almost sounds wider because they sound slightly different from each other, which is what we're going for. Now, in this case, this is the start of the song. So maybe I don't want to give all the power of a double track out in the first moments of the song. You can do that, depends on the style, but for this case I usually like to build up to something bigger. You know, if we start on the intro of the song, I don't want to start with the biggest, fattest sound that I have access to. So what can I do to have a sense of this stereo sound without necessarily double tracking per se? So what I can do is I can use a delay plugin. In this case, if we jump into the track, I'm actually going to get my headphones real quick. And before we kick off, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe and the bell. All the support really helps. And with that said, let's crack on with the video. So as you can see in the session, this is our first main guitar. This was the same guitar with the same pickup, and then this was our separate pickup. If I go into this track, I've literally just copied and pasted this track, so it's exactly the same. But what I've done is I've stuck this stereo delay. So if we take a look at the delay here, you can see the left side is as quick as possible on 1 millisecond and the right side is on 30 milliseconds. This is actually going to create what's called the Haas Effect, where one side is delayed to the other, making it almost apparently sound like it's stereo, but you're just delaying the left and the right side. And this is the effect that we get from it. As opposed to our single mono guitar. So for me, this is what I feel is a better way to introduce that guitar sound. We're keeping it single, but we're giving it a little bit of space, also getting it out of the way of the drums, creating this, picture, you could say, in the production. So moving on to the pre-chorus, I tried a similar thing where I was like, let me double track it. But then I thought, you know what, everything is still feeling all too double tracked when I'm playing throughout the song. I'm missing that sense of contrast. So what I did was I just did the same technique, applied this stereo delay effect, and so now we've got this nice little pre-chorus sound. Bear in mind, after the kind of intro verse part, I was like, every double track I'm going to do, I'm just going to have one take with the neck pickup, one take with the bridge pickup, to at least just get that sense of contrast anyway. But again, going into the chorus, I was like, it still feels too, like I'm giving too much away in the sense of the stereo image. Getting a bit geeky here. But basically, what I was thinking was save that sense of stereo for the chorus, because then everything's gonna feel really fat. A little side note that I was thinking was, if everything is double tracked, nothing really feels double tracked. So let me explain what I mean by this. Basically, if everything's double tracked, you'll never feel that sense of contrast in a song, because what I really enjoy from hearing a song is when you hear a single mono source that then spreads out into two, because you're like, oh, we started with one and now we've gone to two. But if everything is starting with two, you have two backing vocals, you have two electric guitars or acoustic guitars, you'll never feel that sense of going from one source or one ear to then bouncing between two. If everything lives on both sides, then everything almost lives in the middle because you're hearing it in both your ears. So I really like that use of saving those moments of when you can go like, hey, I'm just going from one sound on the side to both on each side, and now it sounds a bit fatter. I like to use this usually in hype parts of the song, whether it's the chorus, or you can be more specific and say like, oh, for the middle eight, I want this bit to feel different, feel a bit special, so maybe we'll try something different on the sides, you know? So moving on, let's check out this chorus where now I was like, I'm gonna stick to the double tracks and we're gonna get that sense of stereo. So again, I've got these two tracks. I'm using Guitar Rig, as you can tell, and I'm also doing the neck and bridge pickup in this case. So this is what the chorus guitar sounds like. I also felt like this section needed a little bit extra on the guitar, so I just played in this kind of octave riff. We've double tracked our guitars. Again, we're doing the same thing. We're using both pickups to give us a bit of contrast. But for this section in particular, I figured why not change a bit of the amp sound we've got, change some of the effects we're using. So I'm going to stick this octave riff that I've created, and it sounds like this in solo. They live more or less in the same world, but I've changed a few things on the Guitar Rig preset. Let me just get both of them up. This is the main preset. I believe I'm kind of using it throughout the majority of the guitar tones in this case. This one I've left pretty standard, haven't really changed much. I've probably boosted the fuzz and the tube screamer distortion just to give me a bit more distortion and aggressiveness in this section. But what I've done on the other guitar is I've turned on this wah, and it's just cocked, right? So it's just kind of as if it's on, but it's halfway up to give me this sort of filtered sound. You can hear it's also on the bridge pickup, so it sounds quite thin. With this cocked wah, now it's taken out a lot of that low-end information and really making it sound a bit different. And then the other side sounds like this. So now we've got these two very different sounds, but together they really fill up the stereo image in a nice way. And again, I've also gone through and I've probably changed. You can see the fuzz is slightly different on one to the other. Not super different, but the wah did enough of a change that I was like, this is fine. So for the chord section, they're probably about the same because I just wanted to feel a bit of double of everything. Whereas in the riff, I figured if I keep them slightly different, you can really start to feel that sense of contrast between the left and right side. Moving on to the second verse, I guess, what I've done is kind of double tracked the chords. I need to turn this back on. Instead of playing the same thing, I'm playing something slightly different, but with the same kind of style. So now we've got this sound going on. And so again, we've got a slight feeling of stereo going on, but because the parts are slightly different, we can actually hear the different parts going on. So they kind of live in the same universe, but different enough that you can feel the left and right sides are different. Now, something I really want to talk about is the sense of a wet dry. This is what I like to use when I'm kind of getting that sense of double tracking. At this point, it's not even really double tracking. It's just creating contrast between the left and right side, creating a sound that's stereo that wasn't originally stereo. So before we used the delay to create that Haas effect and give us a stereo sound without it being stereo. In this sense, I've played these harmonics out and you can see I've got a little bit of a chain going on down here. But what's special about this chain is on the left side, we've got the dry sound, and on the right side, we've got the wet sound. This is going to give us a sense of stereo, but also a sense of separation. So I'm just going to play this sound dry, just so you can hear what's going on. I've got a little bit of reverb and compression on there, but I'll just turn off the effects for now. So I created this effect track, and basically what we've got here is, as you can see, the dry signal on the left side with no processing in it. And then on the right side, we've got some delay and some chorus. And now this is the sound we've got. So creating that sense of stereo without necessarily having a stereo sound. I really like this effect. I think it can be really powerful. It's using that sense of we've got a single sound, but it's just filling up that stereo space without taking up too much real estate. You know, if we had two of these harmonic things, it might clash a bit. And because this is the second verse, I want everything to kind of come down, be a bit like less, so I can save all the excitement for the next chorus. And so like this, if we play it in context, now I'll play it from the end of the chorus, but now you can hear that we've got a nice new element introduced to the song, and it's not double tracked per se, so we're saving a bit of that stereo space, but it's still filling it up quite nicely. So let's hear it. So as you can hear there, it's just a really nice way to fill up the sides. I like doing this with guitar, whether it's with a lick or with chords, it might feel a bit heavy, but even if you just had the dry sound on the left and the reverb on the right, that's a great effect. One of my favorite effect plugins to use, just going to create a new send, and on this I'm going to put the space echo. And what I really like about this is that you can pan the effects left and right. So I've got reverb pan and echo pan. So what I like to do is pan echo hard left, reverb hard right. Make sure they're both turned up. I mean, this is going to be on 100% wet, so we can crank it. And now I'm actually going to send this effect. Let me turn off the delay. So we've just got that. And let's hear what it sounds like with this sound, the harmonics in the middle, but then the delay left and the reverb right. Let's see what it sounds like. So really nice. You've got the reverb on one side, the delay on the other, and it's just creating a nice stereo effect. I'm actually going to turn that effect track back on, and let's see what it adds with this effect on top of it. Really digging that. It's filling up the space in a really lovely way. I think I'm actually going to leave it as is because I quite like the sound of that. Again, creating something a bit more creative with that tape delay, not exactly being lined up, which is just kind of a free delay at a random time, and then with the 8th notes or the 16th notes you've got going on, the harmonics. Again, it's just creating a bit of movement, some nice effects. And yeah, that's basically what I wanted to show off. I think double tracking can be a really powerful tool. It can easily be overused, and I just really like picking these moments where you can have different senses of stereo and just create something that sounds a bit unique, you know? But that's about it for today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a comment below. I'd love to know what you thought about these. If you have any techniques you'd like to share in the comment section, I'd love to check those out and maybe we can have a discussion. But once again, I've been Chris Vella and I'll see you in the next one.